Deja, thank you.
Hello.
Jerry, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Deja.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to open up our next press conference with questions. We've got a mic, and media, if you could just make sure to identify yourself and your organization. Raise your hand, and our guy Zach will get you the microphone.
Cameron with The Athletic. For both of you, this tournament, I mean, you guys have been in a tournament every year you guys have been in North Carolina. You made a run, probably competed with South Carolina better than most people did last year. How does that experience help you guys going into this year?
Yeah, that experience definitely carries over, and I think especially for some of the new guys that we have having their first tournament, we can share that experience with them so they know a little bit more what to expect than they would if we hadn't had that experience. So I think that's a good advantage for us going into the tournament again this year.
Deja, you want to comment on that as well?
No, I definitely agree. I think us having that experience, still a core, was it 4 of us at juniors at start, having that experience going into it and being able to kind of share that and pass that down to whoever comes off the bench for us. I think it'll definitely only be beneficial for us just because, you know, they can just follow our lead and kind of just, we can help them be a little more comfortable within the environment, within the atmosphere, and because we've been there before, so.
Matt Krause, Tar Heel Sports Network. Deja, the last, I guess now near 2 weeks since you've last played, how important was that time for being able to practice as a unit, especially with the changing lineups due to injury throughout the year?
It was super important these last 2 weeks, week and a half or so of practice. We just kind of got to, you know, really just focus on ourselves and, you know, not have to worry about who we're playing next because obviously we didn't know. But I think just really working out any drops that we felt we saw and maybe in the AC tournament or just kind of throughout the season, and we just really took the time to focus on those things in practice, and we went against each other a little bit, which I thought was pretty fun and was competitive and it was intense, but being able to, because I think, you know, we're one of the best defensive teams in my opinion, and to be able to have to guard each other and go against that defense and having to get our offense flowing against that, I think it was super beneficial. So these last few weeks of practice were pretty good for us.
For either of you, I'm sure you guys were hoping you would host, but you got through Arizona last year. You had the experience of playing on the road in this tournament. What do you, like you mentioned, telling the players coming off the bench this experience, what do you tell them about playing on the road in an NCAA tournament?
Yeah, we were definitely bummed when we saw that we weren't hosting, but we knew that wouldn't change our mindset and how we're going to approach the game. And we've had a lot of great experience on the road this year, just playing top 25 teams in a tough environment. And some of those younger girls on our team have already had an experience like that, so I think it's pretty similar. So I think our tough schedule prepared us for a true road game like this.
Yeah, personally, I love road games probably a little more, just because it's more exciting. You get to, do your thing in front of other people's fans. And obviously, like Alyssa said, we were pretty bummed that we didn't host, but I think we're only going to use it as fuel and, kind of prove why we deserve to host. But also just taking the young guys through it. You know, like she said, we've had a lot of good games, tough games on the road this year that we've pulled out. So I think that'll kind of show, and we'll be able to be a little more comfortable and, kind of take a deep breath just because we know we've been here before.
I'll ask this for either one of you. I know you were at the game last night. I came in here at the start of the fourth quarter. I'm not sure if your team stayed for the entire game. You did? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you saw St. John's with a big lead in the second half, only to see Purdue come back, and yet St. John's was able to weather that storm. Talk a little bit about what you see in the St. John's team.
I think I see just a gritty team who's very physical. They're tough. They like to play fast, and they just kind of they're trying to make you play outside of your rhythm. That's kind of what we saw throughout the game, and I think especially in the second half, they were moving really well off of each other. They got great contribution from the bench. So I think that was huge for them, and obviously, statistically, they are winning those games when they have, I think it's like 15 plus more points off the bench. So I thought they just played really well. I thought their defense was active. They disrupted Purdue's offense. So that's kind of what I saw throughout the second half. And obviously Purdue made a fight back, but in the end it was St. John's.
Yeah, to add on to that, I thought St. John's is just a really well-rounded basketball team. And especially when it comes down to March, teams are going to make big shots, and that's where, like, players are going to shine. So we just have to expect that, like, come March, everybody's playing hopefully their best basketball. So I know we're going to get a great game tomorrow night.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and take a question for you players from the World Wide Web in the world of Zoom. This is from R.L. Bynum. R.L., can you hear us all right? We're gonna get there. R.L., can you hear us? You know what? I can hear you. You know what? So, Steve, I went ahead and unmuted my computer. Okay, R.L., go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, you guys obviously saw Jayla Everett in the last 2 years. What do you remember about her, and what kind of challenges will she give you all tomorrow?
Yeah, we're very familiar with her and her style of play. She's a player that can make big shots, and she's an aggressive attacker. So we just have to be mindful on how we come about our defensive plan to make her night pretty tough.
R.L., any follow-ups? No, he's good. Okay, we're going to move on to Shelby Swanson. Shelby, do you have a question? Yes, we can.
Awesome. Still trying to figure out the whole Zoom thing. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, what chances have you guys had to launch as a team so far in Columbus and during travel? I think I saw a picture on UNC Women's Basketball Instagram. You guys all kind of like stuck in the elevator. But just touch on that and kind of the free time you guys have had in downtime.
Yeah, so being able to, being able to come and watch the game last night, I think was beneficial for us. It was obviously a little harder all week to not know who we're playing, which not most teams had. For us, we got the play-in game, but I think just being able to watch them live and kind of just get eyes on them ourselves. I had personally never seen either team play all year, so it's very new for me, but we were able to watch them film today. Our coaches put together some film and scout, and so we just got to get our eyes on them a little bit. We'll go through some things in practice today, but, we have, a day and a half to prep. But I think just us watching film, as much as we watch film as players, I think we'll be fine, and we've got our eyes on them enough.
Alyssa, you want to comment on how you guys have handled the last day and a half?
Yeah, the last day and a half is just all about preparation. Obviously, it's very helpful now that we know who our opponent is. So just kind of like Deja was saying, we're just going to lock into our new game plan and just be ready to play.
Shelby, any other questions? Great, thank you very much. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, front row right there.
Following up on the last few for Alyssa, the concept of playing a new opponent. What are the challenges? What excites you playing a team like St. John's that you don't know much about, especially coming off this stretch where you play teams like Duke and Virginia Tech that you know like the back of your hand?
Yeah, it's important when you play a new opponent, for myself specifically, is to lock into the fundamentals of making sure you box out every time. Because when I play a more familiar team, sometimes I know that my matchup doesn't like to crash the offensive glass as much. So it's just like paying attention to those little things because you're not sure what the tendencies of those players are because you haven't seen them multiple times throughout the season like we have Virginia Tech and NC State and some of those teams. So it's just very important to make sure that we're doing everything, just kind of checking all the boxes.
One for you, Deja, and one for you, Alyssa. Deja, to follow up on something you said about you kind of like playing on the road in a hostile environment. You always been like that? You always had that kind of a swagger feel to you?
Yeah, I'm just a competitor. I like the hostile environments. I like, when the crowd. I like when people are against us, against me, against us as a team. So I think we kind of take that, with not hosting. It's like, okay, the crowd's going to be against us. People are going to be against us. That's fine. We'll take it. We'll use it as fuel to move forward, keep on moving forward, and kind of use it to our advantage. I like seeing the crowd pissed off and fans pissed off. That's something I've always liked as a player. So, yeah, it'll be beneficial for us.
And then for you, Alessa, this junior class has been so important to this program. Like they said, 4 of you guys starting. What's it been like to go through this journey with everybody and just to see the impact you guys have made on this program?
It's been really special. It's like there's nothing compared to being able to go through our college years and have so much success with that same core of girls. But then it's also been pretty important to us to share that with the younger crew and just kind of set the tone and set the path for just kind of like for our culture and how our program moves forward, because we want the success to continue after us. That's how we'll know that we left a great impact on the program and not just the team for the span of years that we were here. So we realize how important that is, but also I'm just really grateful to be a part of this junior class. It has been so special, and we get along really well. We're great friends, and so it's just been a blast.
Any other questions? No? Deja, Alyssa, thank you very much. All the best tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Are you from Minnesota?
I am.
I'm from Minnesota.
If you wouldn't mind maybe opening up the press conference with some initial comments.
Yeah, well, we're glad to be here. It's been like someone told me it's my 11th NCAA tournament, and it just never gets old. The opportunity that awaits, the magnitude of the event. Another rainy day here in Columbus. We're glad to be here.
We'll open up the floor for questions. Just raise your hand, and we'll get you the microphone.
Cameron Teague with the Athletic. Coach, I don't know if you can put into words what this junior class has meant to this program. I mean, this would be the third straight NCAA tournament. Just how much have they meant, and how much have they helped bring up the younger classes below them as well?
Yeah, I love the opportunity to speak about them because it was kind of the first priority when I got this job was to figure out who were the right fit, right? And you do that by building relationships as quickly as you can, but also being really thoughtful because they are going to set the tone, right? So if you make a mistake early, it doesn't end well. And you know, when I think to each one of them, not only recruiting them, but watching them mature through their process, I made the right decision 5 times, right? And you know, the ascension of our program is in very small part due to me. It's in large part due to not only their talent on the way in, but what they've done while they've been here, right? And how much better they've gotten year to year. If you look at their statistics year to year, right across the board, the improvements that they've made. And so it's easy to come to a program and say, I'm going to do something. It's not as easy to then do it, right? And they came because they wanted to help me and be a part of bringing this great tradition back. And they've literally done it one step at a time. I'd be lying if I said it was always easy, right? And that's what makes it so much more special. As I remember some of the hard conversations, some of the doubt that can creep in. But you know, in a way, I don't know Carolina without them, and thankfully I still have them, right? And so 3 years in a row is a big deal. It's hard to get to this tournament once. So yeah, just a huge shout out to them, and what a pleasure it's been to be their coach. Let me off easy.
Yeah, no, not yet, not yet, Coach. We're going to go back to the Zoom, RL. If you want to unmute your mic, you've got the floor for questions.
Obviously, you saw Jayla Everett last 2 years at Pittsburgh. What challenges does she bring to you tomorrow?
You know, Jayla's been a great player in our league. She's been a great player in Division I basketball. She's got a ton of experience. The finality of your career, your athletic mortality is on full display here in the NCAA tournament. You know, she takes and makes a lot of tough shots. She's a huge part of a focal point of their offense. She reminds me a little bit of Jules Spear at Wake Forest, where we had to put so much emphasis on making sure we make her uncomfortable. But you make really good players uncomfortable, and they still make shots, right? And so, you know, just a really gifted offensive player that's going to require a good defensive effort by us 1 through 11. You know, we haven't had much success against Virginia Tech this year, so hopefully not. But I would say, you know, we knew that coming into March, we didn't know until yesterday who we were going to play, but we knew we'd play somebody good. And the way they try to attack you, we had to break down quickly. And, you know, it's a team that can score off the bounce, they can score off turnovers, they can score off the offensive glass, and they can make threes. And they've got star power, they've got depth. They've got guys off the bench. They scored, 22 points off the bench last night, 27, something like that. So, you know, it's not a one-man band at all. But I do think our league has prepared us really well. We've seen lots of really good players, lots of dynamic threats, lots of deep teams, you know, and you hope that what you've been prepared for all year in terms of the talent that you've played against prepares you well for an opportunity like this. But, you know, it's 40 minutes inside the lines, and you got to be good for those 40 minutes. You know, actually, the conversation was more geared towards, you know, that the outside world thought that this would really fire them. And, you know, all year I've never needed to fire these guys up. Even the games that we've lost, it's not been because of lack of heart or an overconfidence. You know, there's been a humility to this group pretty humbly all throughout the year. So, you know, we quickly turned the page to who we playing, when and where, and it comes down to matchups. And we thought playing in Carmichael would give us a little bit of an edge because of our environment there. But if you don't like your matchup, it doesn't really matter. So we didn't really address it much, if I'm being totally honest. I've never had an opportunity to play in a tournament where I haven't known who I'm playing on Sunday night. And so it was more the uniqueness of that and how give us an opportunity to focus more on ourselves for a little bit longer for a team that didn't get to practice as much as I would have liked all year because of injuries, and we're finally able to practice. So it's been a fun couple weeks.
One more quick one, if I could.
Of course.
You have a long break here, but it's been different because most of your practice guys were away because of spring break. What kind of challenges did that present for your team last week?
Yeah, our practice guys, we'd be nowhere without them for sure. So they were with us all of last week. So we did have them for last week, and then of course we left on I don't even know what day it is today, but we had a couple days of practice without them. But we're as healthy as we've ever been, thank God. So we actually have 10 people in a uniform, so we got to practice against ourselves a little bit. So we had them in the important week of last week, and just grateful for what they've done all season for us. And then the last couple days we've been able to play against ourselves a little bit, which is good because playing against girls is different than playing against guys. So that's been helpful as well. You good?
You good, RL?
Of course.
We'll go back to questions from the front row right there.
Yeah, Coach, Deja mentioned how much she gets up for playing on the road. She's obviously an immensely talented player, but do you see that swagger? Do you see that energy go up a little bit more? And how do you feel like that affects the whole team?
Yeah, I think kind of what you started with the fact that how much experience that class has. They've been in 3 NCAA tournaments. They haven't played at home yet, in an NCAA tournament. So this is just not new terrain for them. And the ACC, we play a lot of road environments that, you have to really be connected. And I think that there's a level of focus that requires when you can't lean on anybody else, and so the fans that are here, I hope they provide some comforts of Carmichael for us, but the ones that aren't are kind of how we've done it all year. We've got to do it for them on the road. So yeah, I think Alyssa prefers to play on the road too, ironically. Not prefers, but really likes it. So luckily the ones that are actually trying to make the baskets and trying to make the stops are the ones that like playing on the road. I'd prefer to play at home.
And you mentioned you haven't played at home yet in the tournament. You got out of Arizona last year.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that helps prepare this group, who, like you said,
Yeah.
a lot of the same junior class, prepare this group for playing here?
Absolutely. And just the standard, right? The standard, every coach in the country is saying, let's go to a Sweet 16, then let's go to a Final Four, and let's win a national championship. But a lot of the coaches in the country haven't ever been able to do it, right? And people in that locker room haven't been able to do it. And, I know we're all dreamers, but we also have to be doers, right? And this is a group that's dreamt it and done it. And so I feel like I'm not looking at blank faces, or I'm not having to, pep them up. Come on. They understand the mortality that March brings, and they understand that, that Ohio State is a lot like Carmichael. It's a lot like McHale or at Arizona. There's lots of people that won't be rooting for them, right? And so you kind of got to go through their house in order to get where you want to go. So, yeah, I think it will. They're not going to be surprised by it. They're not going to be like, it's hard to replicate that. So, in good sense, they've been there before.
Mentioned wrapping your arms around St. John's quickly. Who in the ACC, if anyone, or someone that you played in non-conference, do they remind you of most?
Bits and pieces, Matt, of a variety of them. In a way, Jayla's the same player she was at Pitt, right? So there's a comfort there. A little bit like Jewel Spear at Wake, they have other three-point threats you have to worry about and more space out fours they have to worry about, and they're great on the offensive glass, right? So a little bit there. A little bit like Clemson and their ability to be disruptive. Our league is so, as you know, so deep and talented and different. And so it's as much about what's your experience against them as it is your knowingness of who you are. And you just, as a coach, you can't forget that we didn't get here because we had a lot of smoke and mirrors. We got here because we're good at a lot of things. And we have to remember as much as we can our own identity as well as how to prepare for our opponent. And that's kind of how we spaced out the last couple weeks.
Any other questions? Coach, thank you very
All
much.
right, go Heels.
All the best tomorrow.
All right.